At its core, what does Shíshèn Wellness and Consultancy stand for?
Shíshèn is a Mada word. Mada is a language spoken across parts of Nasarawa state. You find some of us in Plateau, Kaduna, and much of the north central Nigeria. The word means alive, and honestly, that meaning shaped everything. A lot of people are alive physically, but they are not really living. They're functioning, they're surviving, they're working, they provide for their families, they endure, they look good, but emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually, they feel disconnected from themselves. You hear people say, I'm dead inside. That phrase is familiar to a lot of people, unfortunately. So that was a starting point for Shíshèn Wellness and Consultancy. We've built something and continually build something that asks people difficult but necessary questions like, are you okay? Are you present in your own life? Right? Do you even know who you are outside of pressure and survival? A lot of us were raised to enjoy life and not to understand ourselves. Especially in African societies, right? You keep moving no matter what is happening internally. You pray, you hustle, you provide, you achieve, you continue. But many people never stop to process grief, stress, loneliness, anger, burnout, disappointment, or emotional neglect, right? That silence shows up later on in life, in marriages, in parenting, in friendships, workplaces, in leadership, in migration experiences, even religion. So Shíshèn became a space for honest conversations about, being human.
How does your heritage influence the identity of the organization?
Language matters. Identity matters. I'm interested in preserving the Mada language and culture because many indigenous languages are disappearing. And once a language disappears, what happens is you lose memory, history, ways of thinking, ways of relating, and the entire parts of an identity. Using the Mada name was intentional. I did not want the organization to sound disconnected from where I come from or who I am, right? I wanted it to be rooted in motherland while still speaking globally and opening its doors to the entire human race. And I liked the honesty of the word alive. It is simple and human. That's the whole point of the work. Helping people reconnect with themselves, right? And with life again.
A lot of wellness content can feel performative. How do you keep Shíshèn honest and human?
This is because many people are tired of performance. People are tired of packaging themselves, right? Listen, I'll tell you for free. A lot of conversations around wellness are either too clinical or too artificial. Real people are dealing with real problems. Financial pressure, migration stress, family expectations, emotional suppression, burnout, loneliness, trauma, identity struggles, relationship problems. People do not always need inspiration. Sometimes they need honesty. Sometimes they need a language for what they're experiencing, right? And other times they just need a space where they do not have to pretend to be who they're not. That is what we do at Shíshèn.
How has your own life influenced the organization?
Completely. I've lived in different environments and I've worked with different kinds of people, from humanitarian spaces to mental wellness work in the United States, including work with veterans dealing with PTSD and other emotional struggles. I've also worked closely around migration and displacement realities. One thing I notice everywhere is that pain changes language, but it does not disappear. I repeat, pain does not disappear. It takes another form, right? It goes nowhere. It stays in your body as something else. And in many African communities, people may not always use words like trauma, emotional regulation, anxiety, all those fancy words, but they're experiencing those things. They just describe them differently. At the same time, I also saw something else, especially among Africans abroad. There's a strong culture of survival and achievement. People are constantly trying to make something of themselves, right? That drive, yes, it can build success, but sometimes people lose connection with relationships, empathy, and even with themselves, right? You meet people who are progressing financially but emotionally done. That reality shaped the way I think about wellness in general.
So, what exactly does Shíshèn Wellness and Consultancy do?
We work across therapy, psychosocial support, training, humanitarian engagement, emotional wellness, education, advocacy, and community conversations. But beyond services, we focus a lot on helping people become more aware of themselves and each other. We work with individuals, couples, organizations, right, communities, vulnerable populations. Sometimes the work is clinical, yes. Sometimes it's conversational. Other times it's educational, intervention based. The goal is not perfection. The goal is healthier human beings and healthier systems. I say this because we have experts of different ages and gender and nationalities, all working toward set projects.
What do you hope people feel when they encounter Shíshèn?
Seen. People should feel seen as human beings. I want people to feel like they can have difficult conversations without shame or the pressure of being right. I want men to feel safe talking about emotional pressure. I want women to stop carrying everything silently, right? I want communities to stop treating emotional suffering like it's a weakness, right? Or lack of faith. And most importantly, I want people to feel alive again. This is at the heart of Shíshèn.